Good morning, good morning. It is a beautiful morning here in Western Kentucky. It's gonna get up into like the mid 60s today. So perfect day to pretty much spend all day outside. It is 10 a.m. on the dot. And I am getting ready to start work on the truck today. I'm trying to work on it about once a week. Working full-time kind of makes it hard to keep up with projects like this, but I think if you just commit to just one day or one half day each weekend or whatever, if you really prioritize your project, you can make significant progress each week. So last time I worked on the truck, I removed, back here, the bumper, the trailer hitch, the spare tire, cross member, shocks, shock mounts, and fuel tank, and the drive shaft. So I got all of that stuff and really cleared out the rear end of the frame, which in hindsight, honestly, I could have waited to do a lot of that stuff because I kind of had a different goal in mind. I think my priority has shifted since then. So what I was planning on doing is Chelsea and I removed the bed in part one, and then in part two, I dug into the accessories and just removed a bunch of stuff from the rear end of the frame, with the goal being to wire wheel, use a polycarbonate wheel and everything, and clean up the backside of the frame and go ahead and paint the frame and treat the rest and paint the frame with some sort of protective coating like Por 15 or Eastwood, something like that. And then once that's done, go ahead and put everything back together on the rear end of the frame and then move on to the cab and try to figure out, do we want to lift the cab up? Do we just want to tip it one way, work on the frame, then tip it the other way, work on the frame? I have racked my brain on this, tried to figure out like what's going to be the most efficient way, but also what's going to be the most thorough way to take care of this truck, because I don't intend to have this truck disassembled anywhere close to this degree until like we have grandkids, or maybe even the rest of my life if we do it right. So while we're in here, I want to do everything. I want to take care of everything. So what I think I'm shifting my priorities to is, now that the rear end of the frame is exposed, I'm going to jump across the cab to the front, and I'm going to go ahead and take the fenders off, the grill, the bumper, the grill guard, maybe even get into like pulling the radiator out and stuff like that today, and really get ready for when Chelsea gets back in town. She's gone this weekend. We're going to drop the transmission and then pull the engine out and expose the whole front side of the frame and get that sort of ready. And then the last step, I think, it's crazy. I didn't think we were gonna get to this point, but this is Project Creep. I'm falling prey to it. I wanna lift the cab off the frame and set it on. I actually have some used airplane tires over here that are in little stacks. Thanks to the local airport manager here, I went behind his hangar, grabbed a bunch that were just sitting there. So I think we're gonna stack up some of these little tires and set the cab down on that, right on the cab mount. So it's gonna be supporting its own weight where it's meant to. And then that way we can get the cab off the frame and literally just tackle the frame all at once. So that's kind of my goal now. So I think today I'm gonna shift my focus from further disassembly here to jumping to the front of the truck and start taking apart the fenders and really exposing the front, get ready to pull the cab off. It's gonna be quite the undertaking, but I intend to absolutely rebuild this truck from the ground up and make it my own. I wanna customize it. I wanna make my own wiring harness for the entire truck. I wanna rewire everything. I wanna get rid of all the old stuff, convert stuff to modern, simple systems that are gonna be reliable. That's also gonna help us tackle the rust. We have a little bit of rust on both cab corners there, and then the front fender on both sides has a little bit of rust right there, and then of course the bed has some rust on the rear corners and whatnot. I said this in the previous video, but the reason I'm keeping like a lot of detail in these videos and making them effectively longer than they need to be, with a lot of, I guess, what could be interpreted as dead space or just like little details, minutia that's not really all that important to an entertaining video. Well, these videos are also gonna serve as a rebuild log for Chelsea and I, so that when we're reassembling this truck, we can go back and literally see exactly where what bolts came out, what type of bolts were in there, how was the hardware arranged, how was this installed, that installed. So I'm keeping a lot of that detail in there for myself to go back and look on later if I need to. And then of course the bonus is I hope it may help you in whatever project you're doing. If you need to remove a fuel tank off an 8th generation brick nose Ford or whatever it is, maybe something that I busted my knuckles on will help you out. Anyways, enough talking. I'm gonna get to systematically disassembling the front end of this truck, fender, grill, all that good stuff. Oh, we got a mouse. Oh. Hope it was quick, buddy. There have been mice making homes in the hood right here. So I put a trap on top of the intake manifold, and well, we got one, so. You cannot have this, Millie. No. Come here. Sit. Sit. Stay. 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 That was so good, Millie. You are so good. Oh, you're so good. Good girl. Okay. I disposed of the mouse in the weeds, but I did not want Millie to watch where it went. So that she would not go after it. And I told her to stay, and she stayed. She's so good. Good girl. So I think today is going to be quite tedious. I'm going to need to take apart all of the stuff that's basically on the fender walls here, and then of course everything across the front. We're going to learn some lessons here. I could go look up some YouTube videos, but instead we're just going to make one. I know how many bolts, or I know about where the bolts are to get the fenders off. I just need to figure out exactly where that's going to leave the front grille and bumper. The bumper's obviously attached to the frame, but we'll figure it out. Because it's daytime and it's not tremendously cold, we don't have power out here, so we do have to run a generator, but I'm not gonna run the lights until I need to, or unless I need to fire up an angle grinder or something like that. I'm not running the torpedo heater, so I'm not gonna burn gas if I don't have to. I have battery-powered lights and battery-powered tools and whatnot, so that's what we're gonna run on. But we're gonna start tackling this disassembly. This is gonna be complex. One step at a time. Here we go. Assessing what needs to be done. Obviously, stuff on the sidewalls and the fenders need to come off. Emissions stuff, and there's AC stuff all over the place. Just there's a lot that's gonna need to come off, so this is gonna be a long process. Over here, this is a prime example as to why I want to build a new wiring harness for this truck. Stuff has been freaking melted and deleted, subtracted and multiplied. I don't know what's what anymore. And not to mention, I can visibly see breaks on certain plugs and certain wires, and tracing all this stuff is just going to be an absolute nightmare. So I'm just of the school of thought that let's just tear everything out and install only what I need and know, and install only what I know I need. So that's kind of where we're going to go with that. I know there was probably at one point more stuff mounted over here than we're seeing. In fact, I think there's normally a fuse box over here, but no dice. It is not here, and there are plugs missing and wires missing. So this is the airbox that goes into the intake manifold, the throttle body, coolant and washer fluid. This reservoir is going to need to be removed, so we are going to need to take advantage of our industrial rip pan, and we're going to slide it over here and let all of that stuff just leak into it and try to keep Millie out of it. And of course, if you look at these hood mounts here and here, the spring mounts, they mount to the fender body. That means before we start disassembling really anything, that hood's going to need to come off. And then when we begin to take the fenders off, I believe that's going to be beneficial to take the doors off at that point as well, because there is a bolt deep in there. You can kind of see it on camera. That is one of the fasteners holding the fender body on. And I think there's enough of a dimple in the metal there to get a ratchet through onto the head of that bolt and then pull it off. But that may be easier with the doors off, or I may hang on, or I may hold off on pulling the doors off until I have an additional heap of moving blankets, because a lot of this paint work and body work is in really good shape, and I don't want to risk dinging it up and causing any scratches. So I may just hold off on the doors. It actually looks like I can accomplish that without pulling the doors off. So I'll hold off on that today. The less body parts I can remove, the better, but I think step one is probably going to be yank the hood off, find a cozy place for that to live while we do all this, and then start removing accessories and get ready to start pulling those panels apart. Okay, so probably the easiest way to tackle it first is going to be to take these bolts out on both sides, and then I need to unground it. And let's see here. This is the actual hinge. So really, we could leave that attached there and leave that attached there if we want, and go ahead and unbolt here, and do the same on that side, undo that ground, and the hood should come off. Let's get to it. First task of the day. So I gotta unlock all my toolboxes. It is the notorious 10mm. Let's just crack them loose to start. These do not look that corroded at all, which is really nice. And they are popping loose pretty easily. I'm just gonna get them loose to kind of get a feel for how heavy this hood is. Looks like all of that stuff that the mice dragged in there is getting twisted up in the bolt, okay? Those are loose. So these two outboard bolts are for the spring supports. And then The other 2 bolts are for the hinge assemblies themselves. Let's give it a push from this side. There we go. Yeah, I see the actual hood moving. All right, so now we need to brainstorm how we're gonna drop this hood without help, without somebody holding it for me. So I'll probably just get something to prop it, and then once we have these like almost all the way loose, then I'll let it down and kind of get the last couple threads out with my hand and then go from there. So maybe even do this. A perfect application for a broken broomstick. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling the spring lift bolts out while trying to not destroy anything. Okay, so there's one. I really should be using an impact socket, but that is going to tear up those bolts because I do not have one small enough. Nice, okay. We can lay that spring mount down. Those are held in by Tinnerman type clips. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but that's what they're called in aviation. Okay, I'd rather just use a ratchet here because I do not have an impact socket small enough. The smallest I have is an 11 on the metric side, and this is a 10, and I don't want to use my Husky socket on an impact. Also, these bolts are just in pretty dang good shape, and I don't want to turn them into fragments of metal by ramming them with an impact. Nice. That spring is loose. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and take that ground off over here. How are we doing on battery? 10%? Okay. I will swap that out soon. Let's see, that's gonna be quite a bit smaller, likely still metric. I think we're gonna have to switch to the 1/4 inch. Scrub a little. I need more 1/4 inch extensions. This is all I have. Let's see, it's gonna be like maybe an 8. Oh yeah, the humidity is coming out today. There is condensation building up on my sockets here. About a 6, that's too small. So it must be a 7. Surely that one freaking fastener is not customary. Okay, it is a 7. Millie just wandered into the shop and she's looking at me like she deserves a treat. You want a treat? There you go. Thank you for coming to check in. I like that she sticks around. She doesn't wander off. And if she knows I have something yummy for her if she pops into the shop, that's good. It encourages her to not wander off. Okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and put this screw back in there. And in fact, I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the same thing to the bolts that held the springs, and I'm just gonna run them in a few threads. That way, I don't have to keep track of them. They are in the spot where they belong, and they're gonna hold these retainers in there. So I don't have to worry about these retainers falling out. And then I'm all freaking kicking myself because I gotta order some, and Lord knows AutoZone or whatever's on it. Maybe Napa, but all right, that kind of felt weird going in. Now it feels okay. Okay, so gotta be a little bit strategic here. The weight of the hood is gonna wanna come, like it's gonna wanna do this, obviously. So I think what I'm gonna do, now that it's off the springs, I'm going to put that broomstick in there so that it makes it much less likely to slip off the hood and come crashing down. Likewise, I'm going to lay a moving blanket right behind the hood, like where the wipers are, so that when I take the last bolt out, if I lose handle of it or something and it slides back, it's not gonna ding up the hood, ding up the, whatever that piece is called where the wipers come out, all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna put a blanket there and then start taking these hinge bolts out. And then the hood should be free after that. Free falling. And I really need to go get more moving blankets. That would be wise. Okay. Hi, Millie, what's up? All right, so now that's nicely padded, so if the hood wants to slide back, that's cool. It's not really gonna hurt anything. Which ones do I want to take out first? I think I want to take the top out first so that it will bind itself instead of just trying to bend this hinge. Watching my little support broomstick there, make sure that it's not gonna try and do anything wonky on me. Okay, that guy is out. We'll hold that in there. Let's see the dynamic of motion there. Okay, really doesn't feel all that heavy. I'm able to move it pretty easily. And once again, I'm gonna throw these bolts back into the clips in the hood. Ooh, there it went. See, that's why I put that moving blanket there. It is sitting on the moving blanket. Okay, so let's do this side. All right, hood hinge is down on this side and it's sitting on its own weight. That hood does not feel heavy at all. That is good. I've never removed a hood before, let alone by myself, so wasn't really sure what to expect. It did not move like I thought it would. Okay, now let me go ahead and get all this stuff out of the way. tools and fasteners and whatnot. Let me run these in real quick, just to the point where the threads start to go into that sort of lock nut thing. I think I'd be willing to bet these clips sort of have like a steel lock nut inside of them. How are we doing? 4%. All right, as soon as I get these two bolts in, I need to swap that camera battery. Hi, Millie. Millie is just sitting in the yard, looking around, sniffing the air. She's such a good dog. All right, that's free. Let's get our tools out of the way. Let's see here. Put that right there so I can still grab it if I want it. Oof. All right, let's see if we can't tip this thing up without scratching it. Okay, for the most part, got that done with minimal paint chippage. Chipped it in a couple spots, but no big deal. I do think this was a rattle can restoration because that paint is rather thin and weak. I couldn't like reach the back of the hood standing right here to pull it up and carry it off. So I put the tire ramps down so I can get a little extra height right up against the bumper and then reach over and grab it. So that was kind of the golden ticket to get that done. Okay, hood's off. Now that there's no longer a hood here and we're really disassembling stuff, I think I can relocate the mouse trap, put that somewhere else. And then I think the hood, I will put it in the bed of the truck back there on the sawhorses. Hingey hinge, not corroded. I like. This is not corroded either, the spring. Nice. I like these spring things, but sometimes they make me nervous. Okay, bolt way down there, and then I think there are two on the front here, but we gotta get all this junk out of the way. It doesn't look like there's anything else mounted to this side of the fender, except for the airbox and this reservoir, the two reservoirs right here. So, nice. Let's start getting all this apart. We're gonna begin taking stuff off of this side, the driver's side. Airbox, let's see, tire iron, which is actually totally attached to the fender, so that could just come out with it. The less I have to take apart, the better. All of these wires are not fastened to the fender, so that's cool. We can maybe see if we can unclip this. That was easy. Positive crankcase ventilation, PCV. Some stuff holding the airbox on. It looks like the airbox is resting on a plate that is attached to the fender, and likewise might even be the same plate for these reservoirs. Now, I cannot tell if I could just take those plates off or if I need to take these things out individually. This plate looks like absolute crap, and it's going to come out anyways because we are converting to most likely a Holley EFI. So it's fastened to the bracket there. Oops, and the bracket right there. That is maybe another 8mm. Of course it's not. Of course it's not. Actually, that was a 7. Maybe it's an 8, maybe it's a 9. Maybe it's Maybelline, maybe it's methamphetamine. Let's see. 8, 9. What are you? You're an 8. She's a solid 8. And I want a longer extension. Otherwise, I'm gonna be just like danging this off the bodywork there the whole time. That bolt came out. And yeah, it actually kind of seems like that airbox is loose now after I get this one loose. Hi, puppy. Spring arm out of the way. I think this piece of airbox. Okay, a socket just fell down in the engine bay and it never hit the floor. That's my favorite. Let me guess, it was the 10mm. Well, that's annoying, right, Millie? That's really freaking annoying. Oh, there it is right there. It indeed was the 10. Trying to run away again. That's not magnetic. All right, let's go ahead and take these hose clamps off. Oh, that one was already off. This is gonna be hard. Air hose, air hose. No critters. All right, here's the airbox with the intake air filter. Right there, came off. And I do not, I repeat, do not intend on reinstalling that thing. Okay, I'm gonna leave that guy in there right now. Fascinating. How are you mounted here, buddy? Okay, a nut and a clip. Sweet. Seems easy. Famous last words. Of course you're not a 10. Oh, hello, Millie. Would you like another treat? Millie, come. Sit. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Good girl. Okay, what was I doing? 11mm. Let's get an 11 and a 12. What, you're coming back for more already? Indeed, an 11. And I need the short extension. It feels really nice today. Humid, but a warm day for the dead of winter, almost in mid-February. All right, that is a nut by itself. So that comes off, and now this is where we're gonna start getting slightly messy. So coolant overflow coming from the filler neck over there goes into the radiator coolant reservoir right there, which we can sort out when we get it out. There is a lot of coolant in here, so I wonder if I can pump that out and filter it. All right, this is where we're gonna need our drip pan. So we're gonna put the kiddie pool right here under this fender, because when I start popping this stuff loose, we are going to have a lot of coolant coming out. So let's see, so that comes off that bracket right there. All right, Mr. Reservoir, what do you do after that? What else is holding you? So then do we need to go up? We do. It is free. First limiter right here. I gotta see how the heck that thing unplugs. And because I'm probably about to get chemicals on my hands, I'm about to go put some gloves on. Stand by. You know, these gloves from Harbor Freight are okay. They protect your hands from chemicals and whatnot. But if you are around anything even remotely abrasive or even slightly dull, it will rip them wide open. So oftentimes I end up just freaking throwing it off. All right, I could be a prick and just snip those wires, but this is coming out pretty easily actually. So that is good. Plug is on its way out. Is there even any coolant in here? No, and it stinks. That thing needs to be cleaned. Okay, so we're gonna need the hose clamp pliers for that. There's some good coolant in there, or washer fluid rather. Don't get those confused. Come on, Josh. Okay, I need to reposition my hands here. There we go, Leatherman. Okay, there's the coolant overflow line off. And then as soon as I pop that washer fluid line off, it's gonna whoosh, start coming out. And I do wanna actually label that. Is that the pump? No, that's the wiper motor, I think. All right, I need to be strategic about this. I wanna put that in a jug, and I actually have plenty of containers over here. This stuff is delicious from Sam's Club, a deliciously unhealthy snack. Chelsea and I use this app called Yucca, where we scan the barcode on all products that we buy to see how healthy it is and what kind of additives are in it and all that kind of stuff, and it gives it a score out of 100. This got, no joke, a 0 out of 100. So we don't buy it anymore. But I miss the taste. Okay, I'm going to pop this hose off and try to get it over this container and catch as much of this washer fluid as I can. All right, we're about to spill. There it goes. Some came out of the line up there. That was coolant. Easy does it. It's orange Gatorade. I'm gonna try and keep it tipped back so that coolant doesn't come out. Reservoir's in good shape. Doesn't look torn up or anything, so no cracks. This thing can be cleaned. I need to get some mineral spirits or something for the wash bin over there. All this stuff's gonna start to be cleaned up. Millie. But what I'll probably do is strain this stuff and put it in the Xterra or whatever. Because I remember putting this stuff in right before the engine quit on the interstate. So this actually exposes the body mounts pretty nicely down there, and they are wrecked. I did buy a welder. I am not a good welder, but I'm eager to learn. So I'm gonna be doing some flux core operations to repair and refab some of this stuff. And then when it's all said and done, a grinder and paint make the welder I ain't. Did you get a good stick, Millie? You find one? Hey, I gotta pee. It's a lot of washer fluid. This is what rebuilding a truck is all about, right here. This is it. Or is this the pump? I actually think this is the pump right here. Hi, puppy. What's up? You might be wanting some lunch. I could use some lunch too. I could use some lunch too. I'll make you some lunch. Okay. That is pretty well drained. Dump the gross coolant out. All right, yeah, we're getting pretty freed up here. Nice, okay. I see bolts up here to remove the fender. We've got to unfasten the fender guard, which I would like to come out as well. And we'll be well on our way. Sweet, sweet, sweet. All right, coolant and washer fluid reservoir is removed. Removed and drained. And yeah, this stuff, it's actually cold. I will save that, strain it, run it through a filter, and then put it in the Xterra, most likely. Reuse it. Because that's a lot. That's quite a bit. Okay, I think that's a good stopping point. I'm gonna go make some lunch for me and the dog. And this has coolant in it. So I'm gonna try and just drop this down. Let it drip itself down into the kiddie pool there. Okay, all right. Gloves coming off. I'm gonna go make some lunch for me and the puppy. and then come back out here, continue taking stuff apart over here, and then move to the other side, start getting these fenders off. Manly, you got your tools? All right, back to work. Wind's actually picking up quite a bit. I had a peanut butter and pickle sandwich for lunch. If you've never tried it, you should try it. Chelsea introduced me to those, and they're freaking awesome. Peanut butter and bread and butter pickles. This bracket was actually attached to the fender, and I don't believe by anything else. Actually, it is attached with this support right here. So probably want to just go ahead and take that out to make things easier. Either that, or I can unbolt it here or unbolt it down there, but probably just go ahead and take the whole thing out. It's pretty rusty. That's going to need to get taken care of. All we need, though, is the reservoir, the pair of reservoirs right here. We don't need the airbox. That's not going back on. Let's go ahead and take this fastener down here out, which is probably like an 8. Definitely not an 11, but it might be a 10, actually. Maybe, just maybe. Indeed, it is a 10. Okay, so airbox and coolant and washer fluid reservoirs are gone. This support, so this whole bracket that held everything right there is attached to the fender itself, but there's a bracket that bridges the gap and goes over to the front bodywork right here. So I'm gonna take this bolt out, which is a 10 millimeter, and probably just leave it attached right here, and I'll take this whole assembly out, unbolt it right here as well, take that whole bracket out, free up that space, but I also like to take these little handheld videos to show myself later on where all this stuff was attached. So that's where it's attached right there. Actually, there are 2 bolts holding that thing on. Nice and stout. So we'll take that off, that will come out, and then we're pretty much ready to start taking bolts out for the fender guard and the fender itself. And then we'll probably be able to start getting that thing off. Okay, that broke loose. There's really not much room in here to deal with this. I need a power ratchet here. What's up, Millie? Okay, that guy is out. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and just thread all these little fasteners back in here so that I can closely keep track of where everything went, what screws go to what. Millie is sniffing the hood hard over there because she can smell that mice have been in it. Okay, let's break this next one loose. Gosh, it's so satisfying when you just feel a bolt nicely pop loose. This thing is just staying tough all the way to the end. There's really not all that much room for me to move my hand. There, it's starting to get loose. Finally. Okay, that's out. I'm gonna put those back in here in a second. What are these bolts? These are smaller. Those might be 7s or 8s. 8 and 8. Nice, nice. That extension is too long. What's up, Millie? What's up, pup? She's like, is it too windy to throw my Frisbee? All right, that guy's out. I'm keeping all of these separated so I know where they came from. All right, that guy's out. I got one more. And this bracket will be free. There's like a big relay or something right here. Okay, that's free. Okay, the only thing I need to still unhook are these pair of relays right here. So I'm gonna unhook those. Okay, it doesn't look like there was a screw there, but there's another bolt holding that in right there, but I'm gonna unhook those, and then this whole bracket can come right out. So that's next. Pop those loose and then pull this whole thing out. What do you want? What do you want? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. What's up? All she wanted was for me to throw her toy, and she's back with the toy. All right, here is the tray for the airbox and coolant and washer fluid reservoirs. Pop these relay connections off. There is some rust on this thing. That just broke. That's okay. I don't know what this is for, and after this, frankly, I don't care. At least it hit the floor. Okay, that one's unhooked. And I gotta flip it around because they hook these things up in opposite directions. Just breaking them. It's on its way out. Okay, removed. Rusty. All right, let's put these bolts back in to their respective clips. Oh yeah, this body mount down here is rusted to oblivion, and the other one is just as bad from what I have seen. Just gonna willy-nilly kind of thread these back in so that I can tell exactly where they go in, or exactly where they go, and I just don't lose all these screws. Especially if I want to replace them later, at least I know where they are so that I can identify it and then replace it. Okay, this is a clip right here. Just pull that guy off for the wiring harness, and we've got running light plug. That's actually turn signal, running light and turn signal. Okay, that's all free, I believe. So the wiring harness is not attached to the frame at all, except for this little ground. And I think this might be the right size. Yep, this is the same size as the ground from the hood over there. I almost do want to get lights on in here. So I think I'm gonna do that. It's kind of overcast and breezy, but warm. I think I'm gonna pull the generator outside, fire it up, and get lights on in here because it's getting a little hard to see. Okay, that's loose. Okay, I'm learning things here. I think in order to get these fenders off, I thought they were just nuts and or bolts that I could access from inside the engine bay, but it sounds like I'm gonna have to get to some bolt heads that are actually on the front side that are behind the headlights and the rock guards here. So I think what I'm gonna go ahead and just start doing is start removing the front end. And then I think that's gonna make it a lot easier to get the fenders off. So I'm gonna expose a lot of fasteners. First thing is probably gonna be this bumper. I'm taking the bumper off. That's gonna bring the grill guard off with it. And then after that, I'm gonna take the grill cover or the grill itself. And then after that, I can get to fasteners for the rock guards and basically take everything but the headlights off. And then maybe at that point, it'll make sense to take the headlights off, and then I'll be able to get to everything right there. So little by little, step by step, I'm gonna document the whole process so that I know how to put all this stuff back together, because this is about to get a lot more complex than the rear end was. Let's dive into the bumper. We gotta see what kind of fasteners we've got, get the creeper down, and let's take a look. Take a look, see. Okay, oh, sorry, Millie. Hi, hang down. Okay. Oh my goodness, that bolt is ruined. There's no way I'm holding that, but maybe I can break the nuts loose without having to get to the bolt heads. This one looks okay. And I believe once all of that comes loose, yeah, then I can get to the rock guards. Hello, puppy. All right, so let me get to that. Oh, thank you, yeah. Okay, that is probably gonna be, if I had to guess, like maybe 5/8, maybe 11/16. So let's tackle that. Millie, this is not comfy. Oh, not comfy. Watch your paws. You. Hello. Okay. Ooh, sorry. What, you think I'm giving you a treat? You think you deserve a treat? Oh my gosh, my tools are just getting condensation all over them. All of them are wet. I want my stuff to start rusting. Literally everything is covered in condensation right now. There's practically water dripping off the wheel hubs down here. Okay, let's get the breaker bar. Let's see if 11/16 will do it. No, that actually might be 3/4. And then I'm gonna try 3/4 and watch it be a metric. All right, I'm using my new 3/4 inch socket because my other one cracked last time. And apparently Harbor Freight has a lifetime warranty on any Pittsburgh tools. This engine is oily. Ugh. Okay, so now I think I might give the impact a try. I cannot believe how wet my tools are right now. Oy. Oy, oy. Okay, what are we doing, Josh? Come on, focus. Okay, possible that the bolts back here. No, that is not a 3/4, no way. That might be a 5/8. It is smaller than a 5/8. It is bigger than a 9/16. It's probably bigger than a 14. Oh yeah. And it is smaller than a 16, so it's a frickin' 15. 15 millimeter, okay. It is windy today. Okay, got my safety glasses on, mandatory. Slap the impact socket on the impact wrench. So we're gonna hold the rear end with that while we get the impact socket up in here. Okay, that nut is off, and there's no way I'm getting a wrench around this other bolt because it is actually tack welded in place. Okay, this bumper is actually height adjustable. Nifty. Watch these be different sizes than the other side. Okay, so that is hanging on to it, the weight of it, that is. And I need some freaking earplugs under there, just some ear muffs, because that is loud, loud. Let's get some jack stands and just let that set down onto that. Ow, that might make my head bleed. No blood yet. Nice. So much better with the ear protection. Thank you, jack stands. Bumper removed. Watch out, Millie. Okay, bumper looks like it's in nice shape. Here's the front of the frame. Bottom of the radiator and the AC condenser. Rusty, rusty, really, really rusty. This is actually another part of the frame where it is rusted through. That bolt was tack welded to this bracket. So, looks like somebody rounded it off at one point and said, you know what? It actually is kind of pressed in there. So, we'll figure out a way to salvage that, whatever we want to do. It's really not in bad shape. These nuts are a little bit marred up, but we'll save them, see what we want to do with it. Grab these nuts here. Here's 1 and 2. Okay, let me show you where the bad rust spots are. Right there. That is bad. That's mainly on the body, not really having to do with the frame, but I mean the frame or the body mount right there, just gone. Wrecked. So we're gonna need to fix that. And then this side is better but bad. So we got some work to do up here. This is why I want to expose all of this. So yeah, I don't want this truck to live on in that condition. We're gonna fix all this up. So next, probably the black grill, and then get the rock guards off. That'll pretty much just leave the lights. May or may not take those off yet, not sure. But then that'll get us to the remainder of the fasteners and make it easy to take the fenders off. I had to take a little break, make a couple phone calls, and go meet the FedEx man at the front door because he just delivered the rest of the lift kit. 2 leaf springs. They were 2 separate shipping labels and they weren't even in a box. And I saw him like carrying leaf springs to the front porch, and so I ran up there and retrieved them. It's gonna take me 2 trips. I have to carry one at a time. They are heavy, heavy, heavy leaf springs. That's obviously for the rear end of the truck. I have the front springs and everything, but that is a task for another day. What's next is the black grill right here. So I think I'm gonna need a Phillips screwdriver and just something skinny to pry these clips off, and I have little plastic clip bars to do that with. And then we have some Phillips screws right here, and then this grill should come right off and expose a lot of the fasteners that we need to get to take the rock guard off and get to the rest of the fasteners for the fenders. Okay, everything is getting condensation on it because it is humid. It needs to be a fatter one. Let's see if I can. There we go. Came out in one piece. Let's get our snack tray here. Let's start prying these guys off. Try to get under them with the skinny one. Get it started. That one came out nicely. 1, 2, nothing there. Probably was supposed to be one there. There was supposed to be one there. I'll probably replace a lot of these with just screws. I like screws way better than these things. These are coming out nicely. I like when things come apart nicely. Oops. It is windy. Windy, windy. I'm so happy we have access to the shop right now while we live here, because this would suck working on this thing out in the yard right now. All right, I cannot get that one loose, so this might be a task for the leather man. That one came out. Okay, these are kind of like screw anchor type things. Where's Millie? I don't know where Millie is, but we do have our dog trained. When I hit beep, she will show up in a few seconds, and I will have a treat ready for her. Oh, hello, puppy. Thank you. Thank you for checking in. One little fastener at a time. Nice, nice. And then this piece is actually in pretty dang good shape, so we are reusing it. Anything that's like plastic that's fallen apart or whatever, gosh, parts like that are so cheap on cars to replace compared to airplanes. Chelsea and I are used to seeing prices for repairing airplanes and replacing airplane parts. So we see prices on car stuff and we're like, that's it? All right, well, missed a piece. So this is actually a separate piece right here. Okay, all right. Nice, that came off really nicely. No deadly force necessary. Cool, next up. And in fact, one thing I'm gonna wanna probably go get from the house is just a box of Ziploc bags. And I really need to keep a box of Ziplocs out here so that I can use them as parts bags. I can label them, slap a piece of tape on it, label it, and zip tie it or something to whatever part those belong to so that there's never confusion as to whether, what did this belong to, etc. That was just spinning, but I got it here. Usually when Millie gives me that look, it's because she's checking to see if I'm watching, to see if she's about to get in trouble for what she's thinking about doing. Okay. All of those are out, so the grill should be free. I need the flat head. There are clips built into the grill right here. All right, that one just came off. Hang on to these pieces, and that one and that one. Almost there. There she is. I need those two pieces. Grill has been removed. And that Ford logo actually looks pretty good. Nice. That feels okay. Where's my dog? There she is. Just sniffing. Okay, right here is a screw and a screw for the rock guards. And where else are these things mounted? Here's a screw from the rock guard. I think that kind of feels like that is it. This is a really good time for me to just go ahead and go to the house. I'll get a bag of Ziplocs. I have painter's tape. I have permanent markers out here. So I'm just gonna start writing on the bag or on a piece of tape what part these fasteners belong to, and I'm gonna start keeping the screws and hardware with that piece. Whether I'm reusing the hardware or not, even if I'm gonna get new hardware, I need at least one of the old screws or something so that I can match it later. Organization is a really important thing when it's gonna be time to put this truck back together. So what I'm basically gonna do is all the little, like these little plastic retainers. Am I gonna use all of these again? I don't know. Some of them might even break. Some of them might already be broken and I haven't realized it yet. But at least I will keep everything that came out of that particular part, body piece, whatever. I'll keep all the hardware with it so that I can have that to reference if I'm gonna replace the parts or just know where they are next time. So put all those in a bag. I'm gonna zip tie this around that top grill, plastic grill guard, and just slap a zip tie around it. Make it nice and easy to keep track of. Perfecto mundo. Nice. Okay. Next up is going to be this guy. The rock guard, I believe is what that's called. Let's see what size these are. It's gonna be a little bigger than that. Oh my gosh, everything is getting just condensation all over it. It doesn't help that the concrete is cold. Of course that's not gonna fit. Of course not. Why would it? Why on earth would it? Let's see if that's I think it's a clip holding that bolt on. Or no, it's actually yeah, it's a threaded clip. Okay, so let's hang on to that for now. There's the other one. We're gonna have quite the cleanup session after today, because this is kind of becoming a mess. It makes me happy when stuff comes out. It's when we get down to the frame is when stuff is like really, really tight. Okay, that is a little bit longer than the other. I think it's just the side pieces now that are left, I wanna say. Did that break? I think that bolt might have broken, or the clip might have broken. It definitely broke. Okay, that's fascinating. So you can see that little clip snapped. I'm gonna need to like put vice grips on that, or maybe I can just bang it out the back, I don't know. But that's broken, we'll need to solve that when we're putting it back together. Time to shed the hoodie. So, got a broken screw down there that I can either, I'm gonna try and just get the hammer and with like a punch or something and just try to tap it through. Maybe that'll work, maybe not. The other option is I'm going to try and get vice grips and hang onto that bolt while I try to twist it out. So let's see. But I could definitely feel that it broke as soon as I put pressure on it. Literally everything that I'm grabbing is wet. All of my tools are wet because it's just so humid today. Not budging. Let's see if grabbing that little thing with a pair of vice grips is gonna help us at all. The problem is though, it's going to then squeeze the bolt. All right, first broken bolt of the day. Really, I feel like that thing should just come right out if I gave it a good schwack. But let me see, I think it's coming out. Trying to see if I can just there's pieces of it coming out, put a side load on it. I think it's backing out. I might ruin the bolt by doing this, but bolts are cheap. I'll get a new one of those clips too. Okay, there's the screw with the piece seized on it. Yeah, there's another bolt right above it. That is right there. And that is also holding the rock guard on. So let's see if we can swap this over to a shorter one. Nope, really can't use any socket, or any extension rather. And there's absolutely no room to move the ratchet. That's where I need a power ratchet. but I don't have one of those, okay? So quit suggesting it. Okay, horn. It would help if we can get the horn assembly out. So let's work on that next. This is where it just becomes one thing after another. But we're good, we're having fun. We're having fun. Right, Millie? What was I gonna do? I need a bigger socket. That's likely going to be, it could be a 13. This is a 13. Let's see, I believe that's it. So let's swap that over. This is like a big, it looks like a lag screw. Giant sheet metal screw almost. So this is gonna drop the two-tone horn, which does not work. Last time I bumped this horn, it sounded thick. So this is getting replaced anyways. There it is. It's grounded through the bracket, and those are the two positive cables. I will want to keep the bracket. Is that blood or paint? That's paint. I'm gonna want to keep the brackets just in case, but definitely gonna replace that guy. That is OEM Ford. That might be from the factory. From the factory. Okay, that freed up some space. Is it this guy? Nope, it's one smaller. What the heck, where's the socket? I can actually get a socket on it now. So when this screw comes out, this rock guard should be ready to drop from this side. Getting easier, but not easy enough. All right, now that's coming out. And this side of the rock guard is free. Nice, okay, whoops. All right, we'll just keep it right there for now. Horn, gone. This is actually not gonna be reused. I am putting a new one on, okay? I already took that guy out, so now it's just the two that are over here. No need to remove a horn. Chunks of rust falling. Hi, Millie. Is it raining out there? Okay, got that one out. Came out pretty clean. One more. Ooh. And I think that one just broke. Just like the other side. It sure did. Both of those clips snapped, the one over there and the one right here. But I am wondering, I do have to pop this plastic clip out of the bodywork right here. This little rain guard, mud guard, whatever, goes into the bodywork on, it bridges the gap between the rock panel or the rock guard and the fender. Okay, drop that. And really wish that thing would just come out. But I'm probably gonna have to pry it out like the other one. Okay, just see if I can pull this bolt through the hole just like that with the piece still attached to it. Pull that bracket forward, and there's the rock guard. Removed, complete with 4x4 logo. Not bad. Okay, let's bag these parts and tie them up to this thing. Let's make sure these clips are gonna, for the most part, stay in place. And if they don't, it's not a huge deal, but let's bag it and tie it. Okay, there's the broken one, and here's the other one. That accounts for all of them. And I'm just gonna tie it around the this guy here. Within the bag, I try to make half the parts go to one side, the other half the parts go to the other side, so that when I zip tie it, the bag can't really slide off. So there's all the parts for this guy. All right, now I think because we're here, it makes sense to just go ahead and take the light assemblies off. All the bolts and nuts are literally right here exposed. It's perfectly easy to just unhook the wires and drop these assemblies out. No need to label which one's which. It says left hand right there, it says right hand right here. Okay, that's gonna be nuts from the front. These are going to be studs from the back. Okay, let's start with those. And let's see, here's an 11 millimeter. That's what it is, 11 millimeter. Try to keep my tools in the mat there, but everything is soaking wet. It's like I'm working outside. We get this light. Where's eyes on my dog? I don't know where the heck she went. I'll give it a little bit. I'm sure she's just in the yard somewhere. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pop the blinker bulb out, and I'm gonna go ahead and unseat this, well, that's the halogen bulb itself, which I've never had out of this vehicle before. Let's just keep the halogen bulb in there, and let's get a flathead screwdriver and just gently open that connector so that we can then pop it off. That was a little less gentle than I wanted. Okay, headlight assembly is unhooked. Nice, nice. Let's start ratcheting this thing off. Nut numero uno. In fact, I can't even have that stubby extension on there. Not enough room. Nut numero dos. Are you also 11 millimeter? You are. Okay, before we get that one totally loose, let's go ahead and crack this one loose. And it is indeed starting to sag. It's resting on this top nut now. I like to leave, in this scenario, leave the top nut in so that it can support the weight of whatever I am taking out until I am ready to take on the weight of it. Okay. Light assembly is out, all in one piece. A lot of stuff coming off. This truck is in good shape. Good shape. Okay. Now this guy is clipped in there, so I don't need to worry about that. And then that. Okay, cool. Let's bag these nuts, zip tie it to that part. Easy peasy. I highly recommend doing something like this just to keep track of your hardware and make sure it stays with the proper part, especially if the hardware is in good shape. But even if it's not, you're gonna want to get replacements at some point, and you need to verify what size it is and everything. Let's see if the passenger side comes out that easily. Back that one almost totally off. I do want the long extension here, and there's a chance I'm not gonna be able to get to those nuts as easily on this side because we have a battery tray. Oh, I can get to them. I can already see them. That's easy. I could be using the impact wrench for this, but give me some light. I got uno dos. I see them both. That kind of rhymed. And to make my life easier, let's go ahead and take the blinker bulb out, and let's grab this screwdriver and pop the headlight connector off. Headlamp, cool. Cool. That's out. These are coming out suspiciously easy. Nice, nice. One more, and then our headlights are out. Oh, 1.5 more. That one's out, and that one's out. Sweet. It is in great shape. That's some funny looking growth right there. I don't know what the heck that is. Still got the halogen bulbs inside the headlights, but I took the connector off. The blinker did not have a disconnect. It was just take the bulb out and that's it. So, is that gonna come off there? Hopefully not. A little piece of trim. I didn't even see if the other one came out with that. All right, nice. Lights are removed. I'm gonna bag that hardware and zip tie it to the light. We'll move on to the next task.
Millie, sit. Millie, sit. Good girl. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. You are wet and muddy. Happy puppy.
All right, I'm gonna make a couple video notes here before I continue on to the next steps. Before pulling the fenders off, I think the best idea is gonna be to take the front end off because these two body mounts right here, this guy right here, which is pretty dang rusted and the puck's pretty much gone. The passenger side is way worse. Gaping holes and just absolutely no structural integrity. It doesn't even look like it's holding itself to the truck there. It's kind of like wedged in with the fenders. So with the weight of the radiator and everything leaning on the front end of the truck, I don't really want to take the fenders off and get rid of that existing rigidity and risk these body mounts just not being able to hold the weight of anything. And for my future reference, there was a clip right here, just like these, you know, just like this guy right here. There's a clip right here, it's still there. It snapped off and the other piece is on the bolt that's actually zip tied in a baggie to the rock guard there. That one snapped, so I'm gonna need a new clip there, and I'm gonna need a new clip right here. I could also just replace it with nuts. That's a little hard to get to if I ever need to take that off again to get a nut on the back, but we'll see. And then this is the real bad rust right here. And this body mount, I don't know if you can see, I'm kind of lifting up and down on the truck, but it is moving. It is absolutely moving. So this is not, I can even wiggle it right here and see the whole thing moving. So I don't think it's a good idea to take these fenders off without taking this off, taking the weight of the radiator and everything off of it too. This side is not as bad, not terrible, but everything else came out pretty easily and nicely. I'm gonna go ahead and take this little inlet for the airbox off. We're actually not gonna be reusing that. That's just gonna be one bolt right there and that slides out. And then I'm gonna slide the kiddie pool over here, start unhooking the radiator and get that stuff unhooked. Get that stuff unmounted and ready to remove. Let's get the kiddie pool. Go ahead and slide it there and get all the tools out from under here because this is gonna get messy. Radiator hose, and I've got all these other lines for air conditioning going into the condenser. Whew, that is full of coolant. And I think most of it just missed the kiddie pool. Okay, what size is this guy? It's whatever that size is. All this stuff up here is metric. Everything else has been customary. What the heck, Ford? So this is like a, I guess this is the air, this is the scoop for the air intake, the airbox. Just dump all the mouse turds out of that. I'm gonna just put that right there, and we do not intend to reuse this piece because we are not putting the Ford electronic fuel injection back on. We are converting it to either a carburetor or a Holley Sniper. Haven't decided yet. Thinking a Holley Sniper. Okay, that's free. Now let's get some light up in here to see what we've got. Okay, that's just resting in there. So unbolt there. Yeah, we've got some Freon lines going to, or not Freon lines, coolant lines going back toward the transmission, it looks like. Okay, so for unhooking the radiator and the condenser up here, we have a line right here, which I believe is air conditioning. I'm not sure which one's the high and low, but there's air conditioning right there. There's air conditioning right here. Here is one radiator hose, and the other radiator hose is down at the bottom down there. And then we have two copper lines. One is right here, and the other one is down at the bottom there. And it looks like those go back behind the engine. I'm assuming transmission, if that's how it works. I don't know, I've never done this before. So got to get all those unhooked, and then have to get these wires out of the way, the wiring harness that travels up through the cross member here that comes from the other side. A sip of coffee. Okay, this guy might spill some radiator fluid out, some coolant. Try to catch it as best we can. Cool, it all made it to the kiddie pool. I need another kiddie pool. In fact, there is another one up at the house, and I should probably go get it. Okay, let that drain for a minute. This guy goes down to the AC pump, and then that goes over to the other side of the radiator. Why does it go that way? Oh, because it goes into this guy. I have no clue how an air conditioner, how these things are routed, so. But might be just installing an aftermarket unit, and we'll just follow the installation instructions. Hi, puppy. What are you up to? What project you got going on today? Cool. This air conditioning system has been upgraded to R134 at some point, but damn, it's even bigger than that. It has not been working the entire time I've owned the truck. I've never had the AC work in here. 7/8. 7/8, and then I need something smaller. 13/16, 3/4. 7/8 and 3/4. Ow. That's a nice O-ring. I'm bleeding. Oh well. I will survive. That hurt. Drip, drip, drip goes the radiator. All right, that's unhooked, that's unhooked. That was already unhooked. That's a zip tie. It's factory, it's fine. Shoo. Go ahead and put this back on for shits and grins so we don't lose it. And then when we take that radiator hose off, it's going to gush. It is going to come flowing out. Pouring out, I tell you. Pouring. 3/4 and 7/8. That is unhooked. Other AC line is unhooked. I should probably put a paper towel on this. My hands are awfully dirty, so I'm going to go irrigate this cut real quick with my canteen. Just busting knuckles. That's what we're doing today. Okay, that's disconnected. So now I need to disconnect, I guess, what's these two transmission lines. That was one of those, when I broke this collar and that nut loose and my finger whacked the radiator right there. It was one of those things where like, it's a tiny little wound, but it's just one of those that's like, super painful. Anyways, I just wrapped that cut because it won't stop bleeding with some paper towel. I irrigated it, put some paper towel over it, and I put gloves on because I'm about to deal with chemicals. And I did not want that crap getting in my bloodstream. Okay, so these copper lines here are for the transmission cooler. And so the way I understand it, at least, transmission fluid comes up and down these lines through the radiator to allow the engine coolant in the radiator to cool down the transmission fluid, and then it cycles back to the transmission. Hopefully, we're putting a manual in this thing, so won't need these lines anymore, but alas, I am going to take them out carefully. I'm not into the whole destructive disassembly thing. Let's kind of do this systematically. Got to figure out what sizes these are going to be. Okay, that's for sure a half. That's for sure going to be bigger than 9/16. Maybe a 5/8. Yes, 5/8. We'll tap with the mallet here. It is twisting that copper line, so that might actually twist right off. And if the line breaks, the line breaks. I think it's coming out now though. Slowly. Slowly. So we got two transmission cooler lines Both AC lines are disconnected from the condenser, the front condenser. And then we have a big radiator hose at the bottom that's going to make another mess. Making progress. This guy is real stiff, one turn at a time. Nonetheless, it is coming out. Dang, come on. How many threads do you have? Okay, I've got to be nearing the end. This fitting isn't even that long. There it is. Okay, I was gonna say, holy crap, if that thing continues. All right, it's gonna be easier if I take this battery box out, or this battery tray out. I'm not sure what's gonna be easier there, actually. And I think my only choice is going to be take this battery tray out, because there's no way I can get tools in there to get that radiator, to get the fittings off without doing that. So let's knock this out. Let's knock out this battery box. What size is that? Let's start with that. It's going to be bigger. Are you the classic 10 millimeter? You are. What about these guys? 10? 10. Nice. Okay. Getting close to the battery tray coming out with this little emissions evap collector or something useless. That bolt needs to come out. It's a tiny one. It's probably gonna be the last bolt I pick, or the last socket I pick rather. It is that one. Where's my 3/8 drive? Over here. Starter solenoid's a little bit in the way of that one. That's gonna come off too. That starter solenoid's busted. This is the little support arm that kind of stabilizes the battery tray. So there's all the bolts. I'm getting a little crowded up here. So I'm gonna have to do a detox of tools here in just a second. Okay. This is from the fuel tank. This is the little check valve vent line thing. So we'll do some research as to what needs to happen with that. And it is on there really tightly. So we are snipping it loose. Because I don't even think we're reusing this canister, because I think it has to do with the emissions system. Okay, next question is, can this thing come out without any further modifications? Okay, that's loose. I think, looks like that thing is held in with a bolt to the more and more disassembly. In order to get to this, get to that, I gotta take this apart, take that apart. Looks like that's the only one, and maybe I can get a socket on that, but I doubt it. I doubt it. Not with this little canister in the way. Actually, that does feel right, but it doesn't look right. I don't know what this canister is. It says A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and it has a 1, 2, and 3 on it with like 2 little button caps. I'm gonna take it out here in a second. No idea what this is. But once I take that out, it's gonna reveal another bolt that's on the fender guard, which is another point that the battery tray is attached to. This guy. What the heck is that? No numbers on it except on the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it has 2 caps. Almost looks like a filter of some sort. Sounds dirty. I don't know. That has something to do with the fuel tank ventilation, which is the little hose I just cut. So that frees up a little space to get to, what is that little critter right there? Oh, that's an acorn. Jeez, I was like, what the, that's a weird looking organism. Okay, is this the right size? It sure is. All right, this is a sheet metal screw that's going into a clip in the fender guard. And I believe once this is out, the battery tray is totally loose and can finally come out. I just felt something that didn't feel good, and then I just heard something metallic hit the floor. There's the clip. It just snapped off. Nice, so that means the battery tray is stuck in there, and I have to get destructive now. Yeah, okay. When in doubt, break it out. That little retainer clip did break. God, that's a lot of rust right there. That little clip was going into the fender guard and holding that bolt, and I guess it was seized enough to where it sheared part of it off and then seized in there. So that will be a repair at some point. I will put that with that hardware to remind me that that was a problem. So there's that fender guard, and I can get to the rest of the radiator stuff now. Okay, get those electrical connections out of the way. I can see overspray from when this was painted. At least it made it all the way to the floor. Into the coolant. All right, so I'm gonna bag this hardware for the battery box and zip tie it to go with the battery box, or the battery tray. call them battery boxes in planes because it's literally a box with a lid. I guess some cars have battery boxes. I don't know if I've ever owned a car that had a battery box. We're just gonna zip tie this onto the battery tray. In some hole, Millie's just laying in the grass. Good girl. All right, battery tray, and that whole assembly has been removed. That was a pain in the butt. Okay, keeping tools up here I no longer like because we have a kiddie pool of coolant on the floor underneath it. And I've already dropped a couple things in there. So I don't want all of my tools to have antifreeze all over them. Okay, next up is going to be this transmission cooler line. And then after that, it's going to be the coolant line, the radiator hose. So that was, what was that? I think it was 1/2 5/8, I want to say. And excuse me while I undo this fitting for the next hour. So these copper lines down here have transmission fluid going through them. And the transmission fluid goes through the fins of the radiator. It does not use coolant to cool the transmission, but it uses the ambient temperature of the coolant to cool down the transmission fluid. Judging by how long the freaking threads were on this other one, this is gonna take a while. We are gonna be lightening the complexity load of this truck, getting rid of a lot of this junk, all of this emissions stuff, and then it's just gonna look a lot simpler to begin with under the hood here. And I'm a stickler for routing and organization. She is being all calm laying in the grass because she just got in a little bit of trouble for being way off in the woods. It's like sometimes I cannot keep an eye on her for 30 minutes, 45 minutes or whatever, and I peek out the window and she's just hanging out in the yard. And then I can take my eye off her for 30 seconds and she's past the neighbor's property. She's a speck on the horizon, taking it upon herself to go explore. Into the coolant. Nice. Now this, I don't know if this is gonna start leaking quite a bit. I'm trying to put some pressure on it so that when it does come out of the threads, there it goes. Frickin' finally. Wow, that took forever. Okay, it is leaking a little bit of transmission fluid. Little bit of ATF. Now I'm gonna just have to do this the long way and get a teeny tiny little wrench on that hose clamp and just try to back it off. Oh, come on. Come on, I need light. I am moving it into the coolant. Okay, that is a 5/16. I'd really hate to drop my ratcheting 5/16 down into there. But frankly, I think I already did. Okay, that fastener is loose. Getting a little coolant leaking, but it's hard to tell if I'm doing anything here. Okay, now this hose clamp is getting loose and we are starting to leak coolant, which is a good sign. Okay, see if I can't keep going on this fastener here. This hose clamp. Okay, now I'm able to slide the hose clamp back entirely off the fitting. Now, this is when all the coolant's about to come out. All the coolant in the radiator is about to come out. And in the engine. Nice. There is some kind of gross sludgy stuff coming out of the radiator. Okay, unwrap my finger. I'm gonna clean my hands off real quick. Okay, now I think we can start unbolting the radiator and the fan shroud and everything and try to get the radiator slid out. And then we can start working on taking this guy out. And then after that's gonna be the fenders. Nice. Yeah, everything's unhooked, it looks like. Okay, this has been quite the process, but I think we are nearing the end. The radiator is unhooked, all the hoses are unhooked. I made quite the mess. It's all over the floor here, but that's good, we're done. That's all open. Everything's unhooked. Air conditioner is unhooked from the condenser. ATF lines are unhooked from the transmission cooler side, and both radiator hoses, inlet and outlet, are unhooked. So I'm gonna try and pull the radiator out next. Bolt, and I'm gonna go ahead and unfasten the fan shroud and go ahead and pull the overflow line out. And if I can even pull it totally off, that would help. And let me just set that to the side for now. So that way, with the fan shroud unhooked, radiator should just be able to sort of slip right up and leave the shroud behind. Okay, so we need to undo this bolt and this bolt. Undo, unfasten, whatever. And that's the size. Lovely. That looks like a water temp sensor right there. Okay, let's drop that right there. Let's go ahead and get this one. Millie's looking at me like, what are you torturing in there? I see the radiator wiggling. That is good news. I am doing this with no manual. But for reassembly, the footage is my manual. Oh yeah, she's loose. So let's go ahead, let's get this radiator hose out of the way. Aaron Reeves, radiator hose. Anyways, that is too small. This is probably gonna be the one. Okay, that's it. And then that one is like a 7/16 or something from Home Depot. Oh, wrong one. This one's held in by a clip and it's actually cracked. The plastic fan shroud is cracked, that is. Now this radiator is probably still gonna make a mess when it comes out. I'm gonna keep these guys separate. I'm gonna put this in another pocket because this is a fastener for the fan shroud, and let's grab some stuff for that. I am guessing 7/16, but it might be a half. It is 7/16 on both sides. So that's easy enough to get to. We can just use a ratcheting wrench. I say these parts are from Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever, as if I'm scrutinizing it. I would do the same thing. That works just fine. 2 big fender washers. I would have used different washers. These were a little oversized, but that works just fine. Okay, so fan shroud is independently loose, but pinched in there. But theoretically, the radiator should slide right out without the fan shroud. Let me tip it this way, let the rest come out. Radiator looks to be in good shape. Not too many fins dinged up, so we're gonna have to plug this or set it in such a way that it doesn't leak out. And Millie, you do not need to be touching this stuff, okay? That's gonna hurt you. I'm sorry I got mad at you earlier, but you can't go wandering off, okay? All right, that's probably about all that's gonna come out. Hurrah! Radiator has been removed. I'm gonna set it down just like this with all the fittings facing up, and I'm gonna try and plug them all, get them sort of protected so that debris and all that kind of stuff doesn't make its way in there, but looks like it's in good shape. And I don't think this thing ever leaked coolant when I was running it, so. Set the radiator over here, and what I'll probably do is grab some rags and zip tie rags over it. Millie, no. I don't know if animals are attracted to antifreeze, but I know it is very poisonous. All right, here's the fan shroud in good shape, minus a crack right there. But that is no big deal. No biggie. Nice, nice, nice. All right, let's get the hardware for both of these, bag them up individually, and zip tie them somewhere on both of these components to make sure we keep the hardware, and we're good, man. That frees up a lot of room. Frees up a lot of room. Nasty, nasty, nasty. I don't know if this is a pad for the bottom of the radiator or what, but that is where it was laying. It was at the very bottom, so I bet this is a boot for the radiator. All right, I'm gonna handle this here in a second. I'm gonna just take a few pieces of paper towel, it's kind of thicker shop towels, and I'm just gonna maybe double layer it and slap a zip tie around these fittings just to keep debris and whatnot out of it, and if anything else wants to drip out, it can kind of soak the paper towel and not absolutely go everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Just to not be an absolute slob and, you know, throw the part to the side when it might still have fluid in it, and also, you know, if the radiator's in good shape, I want to reuse it. So I don't want any debris getting in there, and you know, let's say it's gonna be a month before I get to putting this guy back on. I don't wanna freaking let this thing sit and corrode on the inside. So whatever I can do to make sure that it's covered up, and I'm sure there are things that y'all would do differently, and that's okay. Hi, Millie. Hello, she wants to crawl into my lap. Hi, hi, puppy. Just cinch a zip tie down over all these fittings. I'm gonna do the same thing for the air conditioner condenser or evaporator or whatever the hell it's called. Emily's very curious about this. You wanna know how to do this? I'm gonna put one more little piece over this breather, maybe even quadruple layer that just because I have enough. Okay, let's leave 2 zip ties over here to zip tie the parts bags on. Okay, so my thinking at the moment is I'm gonna go ahead and take the front, this front, what the hell is this called? The front end, I don't know. It's housing the AC condenser right here, but I'm just gonna leave all of that attached. I do need to take the hood latch cable off and see if I can probably just detach it right here. And then I am going to unbolt 1, 2, 3, 4, those little screws, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9 and 10 are gonna be the giant bolts that hold it to the frame, and they are ungodly rusty. I am probably gonna have to break out the angle grinder for these and just grind them off. Really, really bad rust here, incredibly bad rust right here. Holes, I mean, I can poke it and chunks of steel are coming off. So instead of just fixing this, I wonder if we can get one of these pieces from an 8th gen brick nose Ford from a junkyard. I don't know if this is the same as the bull nose Ford front end, but it'd be great if we could get another piece, or what a new piece costs. I don't know, but everything else is in pretty good shape. We can pretty much reuse all the other pieces of the frame and whatnot. But right here, these, like when I bought the truck, this was a negotiating point. I took like 5 photos of this and showed it to the guy and was like, dude, and I told him, all the body mounts look like this. That one's freaking gone. Like, I can grab the front end and move it, and I can see it separating from the frame. So anyways, I could go on and on about it. I'm gonna start taking these screws out. I'm gonna lose light here in, let's see, 1 hour and 12 minutes of sunset. I got lights out here, I'm gonna keep running with them, but then I'm gonna have to pretty much put Millie in here because I can't see her and keep an eye on her. But that's the plan. I'm gonna keep running on it. I'm gonna go ahead and get this front end off and then work on getting the fenders off. Once the fenders are off with the front end, I'm good to call it a night. Millie's running toward the shop now because it's raining a lot. She's coming. I'm gonna give her a treat. That's funny. Oh, come on, hi. Gonna start raining on you? Okay, what are these guys? These are little, even littler than that. What is that? That's a 7. Do I even have a 6? I think I have a 6 wrench. Oh, I got smaller than that, yeah. All right. Okay, those are loose. Now I'm going to switch over to the impact and try to start using the impact a little bit more, just so that I'm not spending so much time turning a ratchet. Set it to a slower speed, convert it to a 1/4. And how big are these up top? That is probably the 7, maybe. It's definitely not an 8. Was it the 8? No, it's not. That's a 9. Where's my 8? This is my 8. That's my 10. Where's my 8, Millie? Did you 8 my 8? 9, 7, 6. 8 is on the ratchet here. Okay, pop these guys off. All right, front of the fender's loose, and now that guy's loose. Cool. Cool, cool. Nice, Millie, nice. Let's go pop these loose. I love rain, I love thunderstorms. All right, those are loose. And then let's convert back over to the 6. Do the little 6. Hi, puppy. Millie's like, am I gonna get to go out and play again? All right, let me get that off there. Yeah, this guy is loose. So I have not even unbolted it from the frame yet, and it is freaking loose. I mean, those body mounts are just toast. That one's better, but next up is gonna be getting the impact wrench, not the driver. Let's figure out what size these guys are. I wonder if it's gonna be metric or standard. That's a frame part. So 3/4 would honestly be a good place to start, because that's pretty much what all the other body mounts were, I believe. But I gotta find where I put that socket. What's up? What's up, puppy? Okay. Let's see if it's a 3/4. Indeed, a 3/4. And the bottom end is not a 3/4. The bottom end is likely, you could see if it's an 11/16 maybe. Nope, so it's gonna be probably one of the other ones that I have out. I doubt it's gonna be a 9/16. It's gonna be a 10/16 or 5/8. That's how I do the math in my head. And these freaking tools are nasty. I need a shop rag. One of these terry towels will work fine. I'm gonna clean off all my tools too before they go back in the toolbox. What's up, puppy? What's up? All right, let's see if this is gonna budge. Okay, I don't really know what the heck happened there except for cooking it. I didn't break the socket, did I? Did it even move? Oh, it rounded it. Okay, yep. Out comes the angle grinder. It's exactly what I wanted to do. Destroyed. All right, well, let's at least try to get that one off. We can use a short impact extension. I think it rounded that one off too. I mean, they are just so rusty. I had very low hopes. Oh my gosh, it's turning the freaking antifreeze pool into a swamp. Looking, that is stuck. Hi, puppy. My freaking impact socket is seized on there. Impact socket is intact, not cracked in half or anything like that. It didn't round that off. I don't imagine there's much holding it anymore. Are we actually making, there's no way that nut's gonna back off over those threads. So I think what we're gonna do is just cut it off. We're just gonna cut it off. So, angle grinder, here we go. Well, Millie went a couple places where she wasn't supposed to. So now she is tethered. She has a 25-foot radius. Okay, that bolt came out. Look at this. Look at this shit. Look at this. There it is. Look at this bolt. Look at that. Let me see if I can get this camera to focus here. Look at that bolt. Would you just look at that? Isn't it beautiful? I thought that the nut was actually backing off and it was getting loose. No, it was just twisting the bolt and stretching it. That's all it was doing. So I started to grind it off, and then the hole was so badly rusted that I was able to just yank it on through. So anyways, that guy is toast. That's a body mount bolt right here, but on the other side. Before I take this one out, I'm actually gonna go ahead and take the condenser out, which I think will be pretty straightforward. It's getting chilly, man. The temp, ooh, yeah. The temp just dropped like 5 degrees in the last few minutes. I think I'm gonna put my vest back on. Millie, I'm sorry you're tethered, but you keep going where you're not supposed to go. Two bolts, that kind of looks like a 10 millimeter. This is an 11, let's just try that. It's the first one I grabbed. 11 actually could work, but definitely with some play. All right, let's do the 10. That is for the condenser. That bolt looks terrible. That doesn't look good. Okay, and then there's two up here. That's one of the upper bolts, which are shorter. Take note of that. Hang on to it here so it don't go crashing down. Okay, set that there. And that frees up that wiring harness as well. And there is the air conditioner condenser in all its glory. Some bent up fins, but not bad. Not bad. Okay. Yeah, I know, you're tethered, Millie. It sucks, doesn't it? That's what happens when you go places you're not supposed to. Okay, condenser's gone. Nice. There's a broken clip. I have no idea where that came from. Okay, we need 3 zip ties. In fact, I think I have some laying over here. Yeah, 3 zip ties. All right, I'm gonna bag the hardware for the AC condenser, and then going to use the rag, tear it into 2 pieces, and use zip ties to just cover up the inlet and outlet of the condenser, just to make sure no debris gets in there in case we want to reuse it. Eyes and ears, and I'm going to grind off that last bolt. This has been slow moving today, but I am learning how this truck is put together in the process. I also need gloves for this. Now that might be it. Ow! That hurt. We're good. I needed a moment. That really freaking hurt. Check to make sure that I wasn't bleeding. I hit my head really hard on this corner right here, getting up. Front end is loose, see that? Those body mounts are destroyed. I mean, they're laying on the floor here in pieces. They were just so rusted and just crumbling to pieces. So got all of that loose. The only thing I need to do now is just get this hood cable, the hood release, disconnected. And then this whole front piece is coming off. And honestly, I would love to not have to fix this thing. I would love to just go get a new piece from a pull apart, wrench apart, whatever. But anyways, body mounts are off. This one is like seized on there and parts of the washer have become part of the body. And it's gonna be a lot more work to get that loose. So this piece is coming off and I'm not sure that we're gonna reuse it. All right, that is totally off, which is not really what I was going for, but this could work. Yeah, it's like a little clip there that holds the cable in place. We could maybe take that apart. we could also just pop these clips out and get it totally off the fender and everything. And there's the hood release, bag these 2 bolts, and then I am ready to take the front off, and then we're going for the fenders after that. Making progress. And it's getting dark. Man, I hit my head hard. That hurt. That hurt. Millie, that hurt. Freaking hurt. Okay, that ground is disconnected. And now we got those 4 bolts done. Need to unbolt that, and that. And then I believe we're getting close to being free to pull this fender off. Man, putting this stuff back on is gonna be fun. It's going to be a blast. Is that a 7? No, it's not. Is it an 8? Indeed, it is an 8. Okay, that is an 8. That just came out of that fender well. Need to take this one out, which looks like it's gonna be maybe an 11. This is a 13. Actually, might well be a 13, it is. All right. Wonderful, that broke. So, what's the damage here? Are we gonna be able to back it through there or what? I think we might be able to, maybe. Some of these little clips are just snapping right off. Got another broken bolt. That's okay, it's okay. All right, got that one out. Sometimes just putting something in between it to wedge is enough to unbind it, is enough to unburden us from what has been or whatever. Somebody in a YouTube video said that bolt is a 13 millimeter, and they lie. It is not. Just by looking at it, I can tell it's not. Millie, why do you look so sad? You just look like the world has been so cruel to you, whereas you are the one who kept wandering off. Let's see if an 11 millimeter will do it. Nope, that is a 10. 9, 12, 10. Yeah. Oh. Cool, that bolt is out. That was a 10 millimeter. And then, all right, watch out, Millie. Let's go ahead and shut this. So this fender is about to be loose, and I believe it's gonna take the fender guard with it. I'm hoping. That's gonna be a 13, which I have right here. Marred up the threads a little bit. That was hard to get out. All right, fender guard and all, with a lot of rust. I'm gonna set that back here. Oof. Admittedly, I feel like this day has been a bit of a pain in the ass, but that's okay. It's gonna be even more of a pain in the ass putting it together. All right, I'm gonna zip tie these pieces to the fender. And now that that part is out, this should be able to come out sideways with a little shaking. This is the badly rusted piece, and those body mounts need to be replaced too. Those shouldn't be hard to replace. We'll have to grind them off and bolt new ones on, but that needs to be replaced. So, to recap, this is the really badly rusted part right here. That looks terrible. This part over here, same side, or same story, other side. Definitely not as bad, but rusted. If I can find one of these pieces at a junkyard that's not rusted, that would be awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, I'm gonna take all the hardware for that, bag it and zip tie it. Great progress today, not quite done yet. Have one more fender and fender well to get out, and it's gonna require a fair amount of disassembly on some parts over here, but man, feels good to be looking at the front of the motor. Radiator and everything's out. I can definitely see the source of some oil leaks. There's a lot leaking down here. It has admittedly been a bit of a frustrating day because at every turn it's like, well, in order to remove this, I have to remove this, but in order to remove that, I have to remove this first, and then in order to remove that, I have to get this hose clamp off, and I cannot get to it unless I remove this first. So it's just been a long string of that kind of stuff, but nearing the end. And I know how to get that other fender well off. There will be some surprises because that side just has different accessories, but it's coming off and everything's starting to get exposed. So just like I wanted at the beginning of today, the engine is going to be totally exposed before I call it quits tonight. It is 5:40 in the evening, getting dark outside, but that's okay. The mutt is on a tether because she just kept wandering off. So I don't have to worry about her. She's hanging out here, and I'm gonna work on that fender well. Let's get it done. And then it's gonna be like an hour of cleaning up. And then I'm gonna be hungry and ready to go in for dinner. So, all right, so right here, let's see what we got. This is positive battery cable. I mean, all this crap is gonna get rewired. This is a bad starter solenoid. It was very finicky on me constantly. I mean, a lot of this stuff, this is field voltage, I believe, for the alternator. and that's fused. This is probably current coming from the alternator right here. It looks like, actually that's a bundle of cables all coming into one, and then it's just one coming out. Interesting. Yeah, let's just take that thing off and just throw it into the pile on the engine. That will come out. This canister can come off. Yeah, we got our work cut out for us here. This is like an air cooler, an electric fan that sucks air from the wheel well and blows it onto the fuel rail over there. Set the hood latch out of the way. Okay. Slowly but surely, let's get going. I believe that's mounted to the firewall. Yep. So really it's this, and this. That's what needs to come off. All right, let's get to it. Let's do it too. I really need I need a tool belt. That's what I need. All right, and of course I need a little extension, a little stubby. So first we'll take the starter solenoid off. I just pinched my finger. Uh-oh. We will be getting a new one of those. I can start putting this back up top now that I don't have a pool of coolant underneath this. Lots of electrical junk here that's gonna be simplified, and I'm gonna put in my own fuse box. Where did that screw go? Where'd it go? Y'all see it? It bounced down. There it is. Okay, so that's starter solenoid. That's clipped to the fender. That's a ground. And you're probably a 7mm, 7 or a 6. So there's a ground right here next to the starter solenoid. That looks like it acts as just one of the mini grounds for the wiring harness. Chassis ground, and that drops the harness. What I'm gonna do real quick, noted on the video, I'm gonna go ahead and take these bulbs out of the turn signals, because I know, this is the running lights and turn signals, I know that in the hectic process of taking the engine out and everything and moving the fenders around, I'm gonna tap one of these on the frame and there's gonna be glass everywhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove those. Oh, I thought that was bad rust. That's a tiny bit of rust, but not bad. I was like, oh, that's a new one. All right, starter solenoid. It's honestly not that corroded, but that lug is snapped off. And then this is where the positive battery cable is put on. So we're gonna do better than that. When we put it all back together, looks like this canister that comes from is it the EGR pump? What is that? Where does that hose go? Yep, goes to the EGR. That explains why there's not a belt going around it, because somebody got smart at one point. So let's go ahead and pull this off. Let's see what size that is. Let's see here. Just trying to keep up with all my sockets here. Is it an 11? Oh, it's an 11. Okay, yeah. Give it a little. I honestly don't care where this hardware goes because this is not getting installed again. Where does this go? Disappears under the manifold. Probably part of the evap. I think that's the evap canister. It literally looks like a Bush's can of beans. Okay, that's off, and this stupid useless canister that probably has leaks in it and whatnot is coming out. That hose has been cut. Yeah, somebody did like a quick and dirty EGR delete on this thing. Rerouted the belt, got a new belt, probably, and just bypassed the EGR pump. It looks like they just left everything and simply unhooked it. Take this hose clamp off the EGR pump and just get this canister out of the way if I can. There it goes. I'm feeling better about all this because now that we're truly exposing the engine, I was worried I was gonna have another day of defeat. Come on. I could maybe go get a shorter. Oh, it's coming. There we go. Okay, evap canister or whatever the hell, not to be reused. Not to be reused. All right, that's off, and this bracket is rusted. 2 bolts right there. Are you also 11s? Shall we? I was gonna say, is that one really a different size? Oh my gosh, so rusty. Okay, yeah, that's literally a can of beans. They just tore the label off and installed it on an F-150 at the factory. Okay, these hoses are not really sure what's going on here, but we are cutting them because that is a part of the emissions system, and this truck will no longer be emissions compliant. Bye-bye. Okay, and nut. What is that? A clip. Yeah, we're taking that freaking thing off. Remove the electrical connection off this fan. Another thing this fan would do, I would like shut down the truck And, you know, especially in the summer or whatever, I don't know if it works off a temp sensor or what, but it would freaking run and run and run for like 30 minutes. I guess trying to cool off the fuel rail or something like that, but we're not gonna deal with that junk anymore. That looks terrible. Very, very rusty. Okay, these air conditioner lines that's for the heater core, are utilizing that. Okay, I'm gonna go down in the fender well, take the nuts off the back of this bracket, and then that should be able to come out, and then we're well on our way to getting this fender free. That is dumping rust out. I am ready to start pulling these 2 bolts off, and after that, the fender should be free. What size were these again? 13. That actually warmed up that bolt. Okay, last bolt. Let's go ahead and get this light out of there. I'm gonna kind of hang on to it as it gets loose. Man, this is tight. When it's this tight and an impact is obviously very useful for many scenarios, but it does eat up your fasteners. The bolt, the nut, whatever it may be, it's gonna chew it up. All right, that bolt's out. There's the ratchet. Set that down for a second. And there's the fender. Fender's off. Passenger side, that is. All right, mission accomplished for today. Dump all this rust out. Watch out, Millie. All right, let's set this on a moving blanket. Probably would have been easier to take it out after or take it out separately from the fender well guard, whatever. But oh well. Wow. That brake line looks like absolute crap. Really bad. Is that hole supposed to be there? There's the floor pan. And it is rusty. Try to figure out ways to fix that. Lots to fix. Lots to fix. We have exposed the engine on this truck. Fenders are off. Fantastic. I'm very happy about that. A little bit of an annoying day. Banged my head twice, cut my hand, and just lots of surprises at every turn. Of, well, in order to get this off, you gotta do this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Y'all know how it goes, but I'm really happy with where we got. So next up is gonna be a day of removing the engine and transmission. What do you think, Millie? How's the engine look? Like what you see? But I put all the lightweight stuff up in the bed, like headlights, radiator, condenser, grill, the rock guard, battery tray, just to get that stuff up off the floor so I don't risk stepping on it, breaking it. I need to figure out what to do with all the antifreeze. Here are the 2 fenders and fender wells. The fender wells are still attached. I would like to take those off, and I need to find a better place for that kayak. It's just kind of getting in the way. Bumper and grill guard, both of them are still attached to each other, and then the hood. I need a ton of moving blankets. That's what I really, really need. But here's the engine. Ford 300 cubic inch, 4.9 liter inline 6 is exposed. Everything's lined up really nicely to be able to pull this engine out. So it's also a really good feeling to have gone through and I cleaned all of my tools. I even cleaned up the tool cabinet and just made sure everything went back in their drawers right where everything goes, nice and shiny, degreased, not nasty like everything got today. Today was a very messy day with antifreeze going everywhere and transmission fluid pouring out of the cooling lines and everything. It just got really nasty. It's a good feeling to have everything cleaned up. The shop is swept. Parts are put in their temporary spaces in the meantime, and the engine's exposed. The 4.9 liter inline 6 Ford 300 is ready to be pulled out. So when Chelsea's back in town, we're gonna tag team that and get the engine lift, the engine stand out, get everything ready to go, and we're gonna pull this transmission and motor. Of course, as always, please leave your feedback down below. If there's any advice you would have, any recommendations on what to do, like ignition or intake or anything like that. Anyways, give the video a like if you did, subscribe if you haven't, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss the next iteration of the teardown and total rebuild of this 8th generation brick nose Ford F-150. We'll see you in the next one.